Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta, and this is episode 392 from a very muggy and humid Delhi. Also, right at the outset, I would like to inform everybody, today is my birthday, August 4th, 19...
Happy birthday.
Whatever. Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
But thank you so much. Although the point was not being to be wished here, the point was that all our subscribers... What you can do if you're wondering, not that you many will get, if you're wondering what can you get me as a birthday present, you can maybe buy a subscription for your friends, relatives, family, anyone. And Mufat Khors who are listening to this in Chhota Hafta format, a 300 rupee gift is not that hard. So just go on to newslaundry.com, click on subscribe and pay to keep news free. You can send me an email. I will send you a thank you from the bottom of my heart as a birthday gift. So let's see if my birthday can spike our subscriptions by at least 5%, if not 10. So that is the aim of the exercise. It is also Kishore Kumar's birthday.
Oh.
So, but I don't have his singing skills. And also Sunil Chhetri's birthday. I don't have his football skills either. So you can make me feel a little better about my worthless life by maybe demonstrating that I have skills of convincing you to subscribe to Newslaundry. On that note, let me introduce our panel. In the studio with me is Anand Vardhan. Hi Anand, how are you?
Hello.
Raman Kirpal, hi sir.
Hi.
Joining us on the phone line from Chennai is Jayashree. Hi Jayashree.
Hi.
And our guest today joining us from Kolkata in Bengal is Monideepa Banerjie. Hi Monideepa.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for having me on this show.
Yes, our pleasure. Most of our audience would be familiar with Monideepa. She has reported for NDTV for 28 years. I'm sure anyone who's been watching news has watched her many, many reports. She now writes mainly on West Bengal. You don't report for NDTV anymore, do you?
No. I have sort of kind of moved on from January onwards. Just decided to look out for new adventures. So yeah, no, I'm not with NDTV anymore. It was heartbreak and a very hard break, but just got too old to run around after politicians with mics.
Yeah, I can imagine. But we look forward to you writing. Maybe for us.
Yes, why not?
If we shall discuss that offline.
Certainly.
But before we get into the discussion, and there is lots to discuss on Bengal, which has been in the headlines for much of last week, Jayashree shall give us the headlines. Thank you, Jayashree.
Yeah, so here's the headlines for the week. The ED on Monday interrogated former minister and suspended TMC leader Partha Chatterjee and his associate Arpita Mukherjee for hours in connection with the school staff recruitment scam. Chatterjee has alleged it's a conspiracy. The BJP told him, then you please name the plotters. The TMC, which suspended Chatterjee soon after, has also announced a major organizational reshuffle, appointing new office bearers at the district level. And among the new ministers to take oath is former BJP guy Babul Supriyo. The ED on Sunday night arrested Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut, whose Mumbai house was searched for 9 hours. He's been remanded to the ED's custody till August 4th. There's an issue about freebies. The centre has said it's in favour to end freebies by political parties. The Supreme Court has now said that we need a committee to look at freebie issues and suggest measures. In updates in the National Herald case, the ED on Wednesday sealed the premises of Young Indian Private Limited. This is situated in Delhi's Herald House building. The ED also attached assets worth over 400 crores of two Maharashtra builders in the Yes Bank Diwan Housing money laundering case. In Manipur, protests have broken out after the tabling of 2 bills. These deal with powers that are granted to hill area committees and autonomous district councils. Meanwhile, in Delhi, there's a Tiranga war going on in the lead up to India's 75th Independence Day. The centre is running the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. Congress leaders are posting pictures of Nehru with the flag. And I think Kejriwal is holding an event today as well.
World record setting event.
Very exciting.
Right.
It will be rained out for sure. But anyway. News from the Delhi High Court, it says that residents cannot be evicted, threatening to bulldoze their homes without prior notice. The Delhi High Court has also suspended the 4-year prison term of former Haryana Chief Minister Om Prakash Chautala. He's been imposed with a 5 lakh rupee fine. There's an update in the Malegaon blast case where a forensic expert said traces of explosives were found in several articles, including a Vespa that is allegedly registered in Pragya Thakur's name. Pragya Thakur is a BJP MP who is an accused in the case. Yesterday, the centre withdrew the Personal Data Protection Bill after a joint committee recommended 81 changes in the proposed law. The death toll in Kerala due to rain and landslides has increased to 18. 6 more deaths were recorded on Tuesday. This is quite exciting. LIC has broken into the latest Fortune Global 500 list.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Reliance has jumped 51 places. The US President Joe Biden has confirmed that the US has killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a drone strike in Afghanistan. Also in the US, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi controversially visited Taiwan despite warnings from China. She's the most senior US government official to visit in 25 years. And finally, nice news for India and the Commonwealth Games. India's medal tally has now reached 13. So that's the headlines.
In fact, some of the sports that I wasn't even aware are Commonwealth Games sports, like that
Ball.
That ball.
What ball?
It's just on this ground and you just roll a ball. It's like bowling but without the 9 pins and a smaller ball.
Oh.
I've seen it in movies like The Queen doing it and stuff. Just
like lawn bowling.
Yeah, correct. That one. So I wasn't aware that, and we won some sort of an award, a medal.
Women have won.
Yeah, women team have won that.
So whether Trinamool likes it or not, the fact of the matter is that this case has embarrassed it, perhaps more than the previous cases. The whole one with Sharda, remember, 2013?
Yes.
When lakhs of people lost their savings and a whole lot of Trinamool leaders were allegedly involved. They were taken into custody. They spent time in jail and then they're all out on bail. That was one. Then again, 2016, we had Narda, where we had pictures allegedly of those Trinamool leaders taking cash. You saw the cash over there, but it was a small amount. Somebody took 5, somebody took 10. But here, the kind of money that people saw on television is something that we have never seen before, I think.
But
anywhere in the country. And therefore, very, very difficult to dismiss it and deny it and say, oh, there is some kind of association. It's definitely a personal one, but clearly with a very strong business angle.
Can you tell us
has
about
come down quite harshly on her, right? Like she's been claiming that the money is not hers. The TMC has been sort of scoffing at her and saying, well, that's for the ED to decide and all. So, but they're being quite diplomatic about Chatterjee, but they're pretty much throwing Arpita under the bus.
But the irony is, right now, the courts are looking into cases related to jobs offered in 2016. But, as the protests grow over this whole situation, we are having applicants coming for jobs offered in 2012 saying we have also been cheated. So it's a mess. Basically, people who did not qualify for the exams or who were lower in the merit list after the tests taken for these jobs, those people seem to have got jobs.
So, I personally don't buy that, the party leadership would not have known. But I think one thing that is clear is that Mamata Banerjee is on the back foot. There is a political price to pay. And clearly this gentleman is important enough not to be just abandoned. So either he's politically, a heavyweight or, he has too much dope on the party. But the one thing that really gets me when I see such hauls, and I'd like to, get the other panelists involved, is when you have that kind of money just lying around. I'm sure I'm certain he's not the only one. Officially on BJP's books, there are 5,000 crores. Off books, I don't know how many thousand crores there'll be across the country in the flats of various politicians and their friends. If this money is to be deployed effectively, I genuinely believe that one could significantly kind of have an impact on poverty. I understand India is a huge country and that close to 1 billion people who don't have basic, lifestyle that would be considered, but even so, and as a news professional, because we are always scrounging for investments or from here, there, for 50 crore, I don't know how these guys are not able to turn the narrative.
The nature of the scam is a bit different from other forms of siphoning of money because it vindicates the cut money allegations that have been leveled against TMC. And even before last assembly elections, the cut money factor was highlighted by opposition parties. And the nature of corruption is that here the bribe giver is normally in the corruption cases where there is greasing of palms, the bribe giver also is seen in poor moral light. But here the bribe giver, apart from few cases of connected people, as Monideepa pointed out, most of them would have been poor people who would have just managed some resources from here and there to get a stable government job in his schools. So the moral deficit is not here on bribe giver, but the bribe taker in these kind of cases suffers a moral jolt in public perceptions. It is different from other forms of corruption where you have politicians taking cut money for some projects from industrialists, and so in public perception that is not very you can say what denting in sense of public perception, because people, as you said, take for granted that the politicians would be making money like this. But when it comes to something of their everyday life for which they are aspiring, like a government job, and a politician is seen as a villain in that, that has a more damaging effect.
I mean, I'm sure Sanjay Raut is kicking himself because we're talking about all these crores and crores being found, whereas I think the ED found like 11 lakhs of unaccounted cash, like some piddling amount in comparison to everyone else. But I mean, I think even liberals with the most like rose-tinted glasses wouldn't think opposition parties are clean of corruption. I think at some level we expect corruption to be fitted in everywhere. But I would agree with Monideepa that the reason why this one is sort of blowing up is also just because the visual of it, like, I think it's quite fascinating. Like, you assume in this day and age that corruption of this scale is far more sophisticated, you know, like Swiss bank accounts, fancy money laundering. But people are still literally stashing tens of crores of notes in a flat and bags of gold and jewelry. I mean, one, it's a sign of brazenness. I mean, I assume that you have no fear of consequence. But two, like, for the TMC is on the back foot only because this is the most transparent, classic symptom of corruption, these bags of cash. And it is brilliant. Like, game shops in Chennai are running out of chessboards because people are really buying it. They put up art installations across the city. They've created like little chessboards in random public spaces. So if you want to sit down and play a match, you can. So they've really gone all out to do it. And then some point along the way, the central government realized that this great international event is happening in Tamil Nadu, but that they weren't involved in it. And this event coming to Chennai was Stalin's initiative. It is entirely funded by the TN government. So the BJP tried to sort of take over it by launching the torch relay without even inviting or informing the Tamil Nadu government. Then what they did in Madras was equally stupid in that the day before Modi came, BJP workers took to the streets and all the posters announcing the Chess Olympiad have Stalin's face on it. So they tried to stick Modi's face over Stalin's face. And these make for very bad photo ops. Then they wanted to organize a walkout of a meeting in Coimbatore where they were discussing plans for the Chess Olympiad. So they're like, all our members are going to get together and stage a walkout because Modi's name had not been mentioned. It was only 10 of them. So the 10 of them staged a most pathetic walkout, shouting slogans against the DMK. And so it's sort of devolved into a very cartoonish sort of villainry. So therefore, Modi coming, I mean, Stalin has the opportunity to be the bigger man because the BJP is...
Was this Stalin's posters being pasted with Modi's face? Was it covered in the local Tamil media?
Yeah, widely. There are lots of very silly videos also.
So that must have had the opposite effect. Yeah, that was a disastrous backlash.
Yeah, very disastrous. And so anyway, so Modi came down and Modi speaking in Tamil, I mean, he has a long history of speaking in tongues. So he said some few words. We were later informed that the Prime Minister is speaking in Tamil. So, but I mean, of his sins, these are one of the fewest of his flaws.
National events are eye-openers of what commitment is.
But how national...
Also, from late 80s and early 90s, the chess revolution in India was Vishwanathan Anand inspired ones. And he is from Tamil Nadu. Though most of his chess learning was abroad because his father was in Indian Railways, is posted abroad. So But that also has an impact. And now also the boy, 15-year boy or 14-year who had defeated Carlson.
Yes.
Also, I think that was an online game, but he is also from Tamil Nadu. And when Vishwanathan Anand was rising, there were grandmasters like Devendu Barua was one. And later he had one from, perhaps he was from Maharashtra, I may be wrong, Praveen Thipse was. Yes. So, but of course, Vishwanathan Anand never discarded his TN identity. And even he lived in Madrid for a long time. Mm-hmm. He made Madrid his base for a lot of training, and they have long group of seconds who are very qualified people. The seconds, they themselves are grandmasters.
Right.
So, but his base was Madrid, Spain. He lived long there.
So there's a really good anecdote on how in 2012, I think Vishwanathan Anand was in Moscow to play a World Chess Championship, and Putin had invited him to his home for tea or something. So he asked Anand, when did you really start getting into chess? And Anand said that he'd learned it at the Soviet Cultural Center in Madras, because the Soviet Cultural Center was the predominant sort of club that started chess as a sort of passion in Madras in the early days. So then Putin replied, saying, so we brought this upon ourselves. And I think that really does illustrate like how just the sort of ties that chess has to.
Yeah, and because from Kasparov, Karpov, there were all these Russians who dominated chess, and now, of course.
Yeah, I think he was one of the first. Anand was one of the first non-Soviet world champions.
The color saffron. It is such a lovely color, but the moment you wear, you'll have some comment. Acha, tu visang ka ho gaya. Lord Ram, the color saffron, the greeting, to Ram has been this. AAP is trying to do that with the color Kesari, Baba Ambedkar, and Bhagat Singh. It is very clear. Every minister, every image, every press conference, all the guys are wearing, the Punjab's wearing in of Maan, Kesari turbans, photograph, whether it's, the Chief Minister's house or office, there is Ambedkar and Bhagat Singh. The proposed...
But the Kesari has become like a pattern, is it? I didn't know that.
Kesari is that color, Kesar ka color.
It's more or less
but they're using it that much Kesar, that it's almost become like
in
that
English
thing.
Is called saffron, I think.
Yeah, sorry, you're saying what? Jayashree, I lost you there?
No, I was saying I didn't know that they were wearing it that much that it's sort of become like an identity thing.
Yeah, basically it's new. It hasn't even been a year, but that is clearly the aim. And also the logo change. They've got Ambedkar blue and Kesari into their logo. The next battle is of incorporating the Tiranga. And that is what I believe is happening. So the moment you see the Tiranga, you see BJP. You know what Indira did? So this incorporating of slogans or images or of symbols is what I think politics is about today.
For the BJP, the rallying point is nationalism. Okay. And all the symbols that they are trying to appropriate is something to, support this nationalism. Okay. They want to, go to an extent that if you insult BJP, you are insulting nationalism. Okay, so that is how, and very cleverly and very effectively they have communicated this to the nation. Okay, so Aam Aadmi Party is also trying to play around it. So instead of nationalism, they have picked up Desh Bhakti. Okay, so patriotism. So Desh Bhakti. So their rallying point is this, and they are also trying to appropriate these symbols to ensure that this Desh Bhakti resonates more than nationalism, because as a political party, I mean, they're competing with each other.
Its place is more as a force multiplier. So it cannot be the key part of a party's strategy. But since we are living more and more in a visual age, so any opportunity or event-driven political campaigns are now ever-going one. They never stop. So events and symbols are appropriated in that way. that if even if makes a difference of say 2-3% of attracting the floating or the fence sitters, floating voters, fence sitters or youth who are looking for some kind of political imagery to hitch to early in life, it can appeal to them.
BJP is not co-opting symbols, it's co-opted nationalism. So any symbol that is allied with nationalism is there. They're trying to make it theirs. And they're doing the same thing with the flag. This putting it outside every home is a very American sort of thing, I think, that we've all seen in American movies and shows.
All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoron. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.